graphic novel of the month club for the month of June 2021. We've got a really good book for you this time. Beautiful and smart and filled with action and heart, and it's a terrific book. It's We Live. Well, you can see it behind me too, but it's We Live by Roy and Inaki Miranda, who are here joining us from Spain. Hola,
hello,
gentlemen.
Hi.
hola, ¿qué tal? Thank you for having us.
That's like the limit of my Spanish, though. So, you know,
That's the limit of my English, so we're done.
very good, very good. Yeah, no, welcome to the show, and thanks for this book. This is really a great book. My first question is always the same question. I love this question because you always get a different answer from people, and I just love it. So, of all the things that you can be doing in your life, why are you doing comics? What is it about comics that you love, that fills your heart with joy, that is the thing that burns inside of you that you've got to do?
I think for me, it's storytelling. I mean, I think I'm doing comics first because I have, a kind of natural talent for drawing, and I could use that to tell stories. But it's not something that I thought about. I'm not analyzing now why I started with doing comics. It was simply because I wanted to. But if I analyze it, I think I've always been interested in, reproducing. I remember the first story I read. I think it was Yankee in Connecticut's King Arthur Court. I don't know in English exactly
a Connecticut Yankee in King
translation.
Arthur's Court.
Exactly that. And I remember, finishing the book and wanting to keep on going. I felt like sad because it stopped, and it brought an emotion in me. So I think what I like about storytelling is the capacity that it gives you to create an emotion. And it's not, to entertain or to just draw pretty pictures, or it's about creating emotions. That's the result of everything. So comics give you that possibility in a, you can do it yourself. I mean, I think if I wouldn't be doing comics, I would be doing maybe, I don't know, video games or writing a novel or films, anything, even songwriting, anything that you can create an emotion through storytelling.
Yeah, no, I love that answer. I love that answer because I think that gets to the heart of why we communicate to one another, to make a connection. Yes. Roy, why comics for you? Why are you interested in comics?
Creo que lo que me gusta de los cómics es como si fuera el storyboard perfecto. Y eso se transforma en que el lector... Translate?
Yeah, he's saying that what he likes about comics is it's like creating the perfect storyboard. And that transforms to the reader into...
Sí, el lector se encarga de transformarse en el director en su cabeza de lo que está leyendo. O sea, lo que pasa de ser un storyboard a ser una película en la imaginación, lo crea el propio lector. Y me parece que es mágico. Le das un storyboard perfecto y el resto de la película se transforma en la imaginación de cada lector.
Yeah, it's like giving what I said, a perfect storyboard to the reader, and the reader transforms into the director of a film. So the magic happens in the head of the reader. He creates the whole, a whole film, let's say, because it's more complete in his head. That's what he likes about it, the magic about that.
Yeah. El lector se imagina la voz que tiene el personaje, se imagina cómo serían esos diálogos, o sea, los que recrean su cabeza, cómo es el propio personaje, todo eso que un cómic solo te da el pie. O sea, hasta yo leía los cómics y me imaginaba la voz del personaje.
Yeah, like the reader can even, imagine how's the voice of the characters, everything. I mean, it's something that only happens in his head.
I agree. You know, it's one of the things we talk about here a lot, about how it's one of the rare mediums where the audience participates as much as the creators, in terms of how time flows and how you process information. You know, it's a very hot interaction, I guess, you know, between the two, and you don't get that in film or music, because film and music it comes at the speed that it comes, and the audience can never stop that. I don't know. I'm babbling. I'm sorry, but I think about these things a lot.
We think the same. I think the same, and that's why some people have a different, maybe, perception of the same comic. They read it in a different way, in a different rhythm, and it integrates. It's like I always say. Let's say I'm writing whatever, and I want to describe a house, and I just say three things, like there's a house in the country. That's enough for the reader to feel something, because he will think of the house he knew or he knows in the country. So that's something that there's a connection there from you giving him just enough information for him to recreate it and give life to to that house.
Yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. Let me ask you: did you go to school for art?
I went to. I have a degree in painting, in fine arts.
Okay.
And and then in the last year I did a year of film. You know, I learned about a lot of storytelling that year. So that's about it. But I think, the fine arts mostly helped me not to develop my skills, because that's something that I think any artist has to do alone in his house and put in hours. I mean, it doesn't matter what you study. You just have to have something to say and do it, and that's it. But fine arts helped me to understand or perceive different layers of an artwork that some artworks have. I mean, I also have a project in fine arts, in contemporary art, so I'm juggling with both comics and fine art. But it doesn't matter, because there's a lot of let's say works in the entertainment industry that have as many layers as you could say in fine arts. And we've reached a moment where it's very merged. So I had what I say, I had a degree, but I don't think that gave me skills at all. That's something that I had to do myself.
Yeah. No, I understand. So I'm assuming that you weren't, when you were going to school, you weren't thinking, oh, I'm going to be doing comics, right? You were.
Oh, yes.
You were just. Oh, you did at that point. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very much. I was something that I knew I had to do comics. Even I went to fine arts, but thinking that I was going to work in comics. There was no question about that. And once I started working in comics, like 7 years ago, I thought that I had to do, something else in the paintings, in whatever, in that side of the art. So, but comics came first. Yeah.
Okay. Is there not? I literally don't know this question. Are there not any comics programs in Spain, like specific to? Because you've got a pretty big tradition of great comics artists, and I thought there was a pretty strong community there.
No, not at all. I mean, community in their artists, but you can find academies. I think in Barcelona they had a quite prestigious academy of comics.
Okay.
But nothing on official level, like you have in the university, or just like the Cuba school. We don't have that in Spain. Not that I know. I mean, no.
Okay.
And even if in college, in fine arts, comics weren't considered art at all. I mean, it's something that you had to fight against that.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting, because I had thought Americans being ignorant about the rest of the world, but I mean, I at least had known that for decades there was a whole set of comics awards. Is it the Hackster Awards that were issued in Spain?
Barcelona, I think you mean the
maybe it is, yeah.
The one in the convention of Barcelona, maybe. I mean, I have to admit that I live, in my own bubble.
Right.
So
sure. No,
maybe
of course.
there is, and I'm just. Maybe I'm saying something wrong that it's not like that, but I mean, I live very much separated from everything. I just want to create, and since I started working from the US, I just I don't know what's happening around me.
Yeah. No, that's all good. I'm just curious. I'm always interested in how these things work around the world. What were the first comics that you guys remember seeing?
Am I right?
No lo sé. El primero. Bueno, Mafalda era un cómic.
Oh, yeah. There's an Argentinian comic strip very famous called Mafalda. And it's quite big in Spain and in Argentina, all around Spanish speaking countries. It's like a newspaper comic strip, very famous. That's right. And my first comic was Asterix, the Belgian comic.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were like in Argentina, because we were born in Argentina and we lived for some years there. Then we moved to California and then back to Argentina, and now we're in Spain. So my first contact with comics was Asterix, and also there was an anthology magazine. There were like 4 each month, where you have like this thick, and they had a lot of war stories, barbarian stories, cowboys, everything. Drawn in a very canonic, realistic style, and I was really, I was absorbed by that. Every month I had to read them because they were like serialized, and those were my 2 first exposures to comics.
Yeah, great. Now, if it's weird because usually I can Google an artist and I can get a whole lot of information. There's really very little on you on the just like sort of lists of things that you've done. It was said that your first work was at 2000 AD. Is that correct?
Yes.
So
yes.
So can you tell me a little bit about breaking into comics and getting those first gigs and how that worked?
Yeah, I mean, it took me like 10 years. I mean, when I started working, going to university, I at the same time was mailing, Xerox samples to Marvel and DC all the time. I mean, I spent a lot of money there, and it took like I literally I think I sent 10 years of samples, and I wasn't good enough. That's quite clear. Yeah. I thought I was. And then I started working in video games and a little bit in animation. And I remember just at that time, I just decided, okay, I will go to the Bristol convention and show my new sample. And there I went and I showed them my portfolio to 2000 AD. And they loved it, at first sight, and they gave me work. It was really instant.
Nice.
But it wasn't instantly because it came from 10 years of trying to break in the US market.
Sure.
And at the same time, I remember I self-published a book that I wrote and drew called Dork here in Spain.
Okay.
And I don't know if it was the first full color comic in self-publishing here in Spain, but that gave me an information about the market in Spain that I knew I wouldn't be able to live from that. So I just I tried that out. I saw the sales numbers, and I said, okay, I have to get work. So I decided to go to look outside. That's why it took me that also took so long.
Yeah. Wow, that's that's a way to get there for sure. I'm impressed that like you just showed your samples at a con and immediately they hired you to start doing stuff.
Yeah.
Did that, so then once you're in the door at 2000 AD, did that make it easier to go to DC Comics and go, see, I'm published?
I don't know if I don't think that changed the situation, because I remember the same year I showed the samples to, I think, it was the same year, to 2000 AD in the same virtual convention. I met Shelley Bond from Vertigo, and she loved my stuff, and she told me like, send me some samples so I can keep an eye on you. And the next year I went back to Bristol and I saw, well, the fun stuff is I didn't go because at that time, Eva de la Cruz, the colorist I worked with, she went because she had a boyfriend in England. So she showed them our stuff, her colors and my drawings. And Shelley saw them and loved them. And she said, from that point on, she told me, I want to keep you busy. And she started with giving me a short story in Fables.
Yeah.
And then she gave me an issue, as a guest artist. And then she found stuff to give me like a Fairest, and I could co-created Coffin Hill with Caitlin Kittredge.
Yeah.
And that took me to the DCU.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know.
Yeah, I saw too. There was a couple of it looked like there was 2 graphic novels. Burnout, which I remember Burnout.
Burnout. I forgot about that. Yes.
Yeah. It looked like that was your first thing at Vertigo, or at least the first one that got published.
My first thing.
Okay.
No, first it was the short story for Fables, and
it was a short story. That's probably why, because on my database, I can search by artist name, but if it's a short story,
you can find that. Yeah.
Right, like you're not going to be listed in the actual computer file, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah.
So yes, basically yes, I'd say that was my first, story or book in Vertigo. Well, it was Minx at that time.
Yeah. And then Tribes at IDW.
Oh yes. Then I did Tribe with Michael Getzel.
Yeah.
And he searched for me because he saw my work through another writer, and he got in contact with me, and we met, and he asked me to do the art for Tribes, and I said yes. So that took me like, I don't know if it was like 2 years of work.
Yeah. Well, so that was giving my question, actually, sort of recounting. The reason I recounted all of that was you went from doing short stories, 2000 AD is all short stories. It's, a short story in Fables. Then you go on to Burnout, which was, I think, a 48 or 56 page story, something like that. As I recall.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but it was long.
Yeah, and then Tribes was almost 200 pages, right? And then you go back to doing monthly comics and monthly deadlines. So can you sort of talk about how those 3 things are different from one another, and sort of the demands of you as an artist, if that makes any sense?
Yes, of course. Yeah. In my situation, I think it didn't make any difference, because I was, even if it wasn't a monthly comic that I had a deadline, I had a deadline in my mind that I had to get the money. So I was my own, editor, saying you have to get this pages a month because you have to get paid. And I think I don't remember quite well, because I think when I was doing Tribes at the same time, I was doing something for Vertigo, I think, like in between. So I always since I started, I always felt the pressure of having to do so many pages a month or a week, and it hasn't stopped really.
Yeah. So you didn't necessarily change your approach in how you approached a page, or laid things out, or thought about production? No, I mean it's that's fine. If not, I'm just curious.
Yeah, no. I'm trying to remember, but no. It was the same for me in every book I've done. I mean, I wish I'm waiting for the moment where I can take like, I don't know, 3 months to do 20 pages and do it just spectacularly, but it hasn't arrived yet. And at the same time, I don't know if that's a good thing really, because comics, you have to translate a lot of movement and life into drawings, and sometimes it's good that you have to not be so precise in things, because I think when as a reader, the way that you can perceive movement or life or gestures is through something that is not quite perfect, because it has a movement at the same time. I don't know if it's kind of strange what I'm saying.
I understand that. I think I get what you're saying. Yeah.
But at the same time, I would like to spend more time on pages, but right now I'm just giving the exact time to every page. That I mean, my goal is to have at least 15 pages a month, and 20 would be what I aim for.
Yeah.
So I don't know the difference because.
Yeah, sure. Well, but when you're working on a monthly book with monthly deadlines, right? You've got to be doing 22 pages a month, like without fail. Well,
yeah.
I mean, DC changed it recently, so now it's 20 pages. But still, like you've got to be able to hit those. So was it difficult drawing, especially Coffin Hill, because that was an 18-issue run, I want to say.
Yes.
Was it hard for you to stay up on the deadlines through that?
Yeah, I'm not going to say it was easy, because it wasn't. I mean, there's all once I see the book, I see a lot of mistakes that I did because of the time, and it's difficult for me to look at art that I did, and mostly because I had the pressure of time. Yes, but no, I learned a lot at the same time, because Shelley Bond is a great editor, and she taught me a lot of how to tell a story and how to translate a script, and what to cut from the script. You don't have that much respect. I mean, you have to respect it, but don't have that much respect for the script, because sometimes things work better in another way. Yeah. So it was like a a learning experience with a time pressure. Yeah. So that put me in a good place, I think, as a comic creator.
Yeah, no, that's great, and especially working with Shelley, because as you say, Shelley is one of the best in the business.
Yes,
she's absolutely terrific. Yeah. One more question on this before we get to We Live, because I know I like questions that Roy can't answer. But I know. So my last question is that after doing all this stuff at Vertigo for a while, you ended up moving over to the superhero side. Ragman, Old Woman Harley, a bunch of Catwomans. Is there I mean, obviously, tonally, the kind of work that gets done at Vertigo tends to be reasonably static, talking heads, yada, 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 back and forth, right? Mm. Whereas in superhero comics, things have to be more dynamic and action. And, so was that an adjustment for you? Can you speak to that part of it at all?
Yeah, I think it was, and it is. I mean, I still think I have a lot of, things to work in a superhero page. It's a mix of a lot of things, because I have a conflict in my mind between the Marvel way of the perspective on the I don't know the word in English, but forehand, I think is the word. I don't know, foresight or something like that. Well, and also a cinematic. I mean, I'm all cinematic shots where you can compose a shot or a panel in a different way, something more like solid,
Yeah.
That's not counting so much of on the spectacularity of things.
Yeah.
So I tried. I don't want to give up one world for the other. So I'm still trying to balance those two things that I have in my head in the superhero work. So it was an adjustment, and it still is, because I still don't want to let go one side of kind of storytelling.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. So okay, we come to we live finally we come to the book that we're talking about. Sorry, I talk a lot. What can I say? Where did it come from? How did you pitch it? How did you put it together? Tell us things.
¿Hablo yo, Roy, o quieres empezar?
Sí, la respuesta es la misma. Sí.
Okay. Well, I'll talk.
Okay.
The thing is, as I said before, I mean, I studied in comics for storytelling, not just for drawing. So my goal personally was to tell my own story. And at the same time, I have this genius brother, and I knew we had to do something together. I mean, because what I analyze what we can do as a duo is we can go to places the other one wouldn't have gone by itself, because we have no limits. We just have no limits when we just throw ideas out there. We pick this idea, and the other one says, okay, what if we do this with that? And the other one says, wow, yeah, okay. And the other says, okay, what if we do that? Yeah, wow. So I know that one mind can do, at least my mind can do what we do together. So I started, we had a vacation together. It was and we went to the beach, but we had a like 6 or 8 hours car drive, and in that moment, I said we have to, start speaking about stories, and we just started speaking, and we came up with We Live. It was one thing led to another, and we suddenly had something that we both really loved to tell, and that we knew we had to do it. And that was like, I think it was 5 years earlier than before we pitched it. So we had 5 years of just speaking and talking and chatting about it, and throwing ideas, and once we had the whole thing in our head, that's when we, not me, because I sent the email, we pitched it to Mike Bartz at Aftershock, and he loved it from the start. So it was just like that. But I think mostly because we dedicated so much time to just think about it and create it in our minds. And because, Roy is a hip hop artist, but also he's a creative director in advertisement. So he's used to, working with ideas that are out of the box. So that's how it happened. I just knew I had to do something with Roy, and we did it.
Nice. Is there anything you want to add to that, Roy?
No, que antes de We Live sí que empezamos a dialogar de otras ideas, ¿eh? Lo que pasa es que era un juego, jugábamos a hablar de ideas y de historias, pero We Live fue en la que todo encajó. O sea, y ahí hubo algo que dijo, en esta no hay que parar hasta que lo consigamos.
yeah, I mean, I mentioned We Live, but we really started about we started speaking about many ideas at the same time. I mean, we just threw ideas and and we just played with ideas, and then okay, we get this. I mean, different projects at the same time that we were creating. But We Live was the first that everything matched, and he said, okay, this is something we have. It's pretty solid, and that's when we focused on that. But it was just, when I say speaking, it wasn't like, okay, let's do a book. No, let's just throw ideas and let's do many projects and see what happens.
Yeah, no, that's great. And it's a good use of a 6-hour car ride too.
Yeah, well, it was also the other 6 back.
Very good.
And during the, I mean, I remember once, I mean, because he was with his family and I was alone, and I remember once he told me, okay, just like, let's stop a little because, I have to have a vacation also. I mean, I knew I went there to get something. I didn't care about, the vacation at all.
Oh, I love that. That's funny as heck. Where did the kernel of the idea for the story come from? Like, was there something in particular that got you putting it together, or?
Yeah, it was first. ¿De dónde surgió? ¿Cómo surgió la idea? ¿Desde dónde? El comienzo total de la idea de We Live, ¿de dónde surgió? ¿Quieres hablar vos?
No, habla y voy pensando.
Okay. It started, the first idea that I remember was that the world, I mean, we're speaking about the energy, the fossil energy, that there's this theory that there's not going to be enough time once the fossil energy runs out until the whole system of Earth, society is prepared to move to the green energy. And there was going to be a fallout if those things weren't, once I wasn't prepared for the collapse of the fossil energy.
Yep.
So we started speaking about that, the end of society, what would happen. And then suddenly we said, okay, so let's say society has collapsed. The climate change also has happened. And we said, okay, what would happen? Let's imagine aliens appear and say, you guys are doomed. You have 3 years before the end of the world, and we can save 5,000 of your species. I mean, with that, it would be children. And that took us to think, okay, let's say we're aliens. How would we organize something like that? How would you organize in the whole planet to take 5,000 children? How would you pick it? And then we came with the idea of the bracelets. Okay, it has to be something random that you throw, and whoever picks it gets a ticket. And that also led us to say, okay, now let's say 3 years have passed, and it comes a time of extinction, and the aliens come to our rescue. And what would happen if we extrapolate that to the real world? What's happening in the real world right now with countries where you have refugees from a war like Syria, and they have to run for their lives because they're going to get killed or they're going to die, and they have to do a whole journey to save their lives. And once they reach the frontier of another country, because of politics, they decide, no, we're not giving you a refuge.
Yeah.
So that's what took us to the I think it was to the profound meaning, I think, of We Live, to be able to tell a human story.
Yep. Yeah, in a beautiful science fiction context, absolutely. I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm told we have an audience question, so Zoe, pop that audience question up. Ryan Jablonski, We Live has an epic end beginning point on issue 5. How big is the story planned to be from chapter 2 and beyond?
Esa para Roy. ¿La entendiste?
O sea, qué grande va a ser, qué nos espera, ¿no? Después de...
¿Cómo de grande va a ser lo que tenemos planeado? No, la segunda no, lo planeado a partir de aquí.
Sí, pues la respuesta es que es muy grande, tan grande que hemos ido más allá de lo que viene ahora. O sea, y es algo que si con el primer volumen nos perdimos en ilusión y en emoción construyéndolo, aquí estamos ahora mismo desbordados. No sabemos ni cómo gestionar las ganas que tenemos de contarlo. Así de grande es.
Okay, let's see if I remember. Okay, what he says is that it's really, really, really big. I mean, right now we feel overboarded. I mean, from the emotions that we have, all the things we have to tell. I mean, in the first volume, we were emotionally, connected to the story, and we were there. But what I mean is, what we have to tell from here on, it's so big that we're right now we're like it's. I'm going to tell my own words because I remember exactly what he said, but we're already chatting about volume 6.
Wow.
So it's really that big, and that's not the end even. I mean, we're really excited right now. I know we have to do volume 2, but reaching the end of volume 2 and what's going to be volume 3, I just want to do it all right now. I want to draw it, and we want to write it because it's really big. I mean, there's a lot of questions to be answered, and there's a lot of paths that the story will go.
Yeah, no, this genuinely excites me to hear that you've got ideas for at least 6, and how much further past that do you see it going? I mean, do you see 20 volumes? I don't.
Dice que 20. I don't know if 20, but we could. I mean, because just think of one thing. There's a story to be told outside of Earth too, and the story of I'm thinking what I should say, but I mean, there's the Palladians. There's something about where did the bracelet come from, and I mean, we can expand it a lot.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I can see that very much. Was it? So I imagine, given that you A, have so much passion for this, clearly, and B, that you have this giant story that you want to tell, it must have been really gratifying to get the Eisner nomination this last week, right? Like, because that says that everybody seems to like this.
Yeah, because before that, I mean, Roy and I, we were speaking about that. We were excited, but also we were saying, okay, but maybe we're in our own bubble, and we're thinking that there's a lot of people out there that like it, but maybe there's a lot of out there that doesn't like it, and we're not listening to those. And we think that we have something, a success in our hand. I mean, we've always really trusted in the products. We were really excited from the start when we had something special, but at the same time, you can never tell, because something that you love, it doesn't mean that it's going to be perceived the same way outside. Yeah. That's something I learned too with the years. So when the Eisner came, the nomination, it was like, wow, now we have something to stand on, and we can build, because it's, whether you like it or not, it's like a stamp of quality. That's what Eisner means. So that gives us like a strength, an inner strength. Okay, let's do it just what we have in our heads, because I think it works.
Yeah, no, it's good to have people externally go, You know, yeah, no, your dream is we like it. We also like it. Well,
Yeah,
which is, I mean, that's why we picked it for the club, right? Like I picked it for the club because I loved this book. I enjoyed it so much, and I just it's beautiful, and it's smart, and it's got heart, and yeah, so well done.
Yeah, we're very thankful to to you and to the every retailer, and to the Eisner's judges that picked it. Our first excitement came when they told us that we were going for a second volume, because just imagine, we already had all this in our head, what we can expand and what the stories we want to tell.
Yeah.
But if the sales weren't good enough, that's all we would have done of We Live.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, that first issue went through what, 5 printings, I want to say, of issue number 1?
I think it's 4th printing right now.
4? Okay.
Yeah, 4 printing.
Either way, I mean, that's I think the first time that's ever happened at Aftershock.
Yeah, I think it is the first time that 4th printing for number 1. Yeah.
No, that's great. That's fantastic. Zoe tells me we have another question. What is it, Zoe? Butrigo, hey, there you are, buddy. The music videos work perfectly as emotional reflection moments throughout the journey. Were these planned from the beginning, or were they an afterthought?
¿Entendiste?
Sí. Bueno, creo que antes de empezar no sé si esto ocurrió antes o después de empezar a escribir el primer guión.
No, todavía no hemos escrito el guión.
Antes...
Sí, el guión sí lo teníamos escrito, me parece. Sí, el guión sí.
Pues fue...
Sí, el número 1 lo... Sí.
La banda sonora...
No, it's all good.
Bueno, realmente lo que hay que contar es que cuando tuvimos que crear el vídeo promocional, le pedimos a un amigo que hiciera algo de música para que acompañara la animación, y ahí a los dos nos chispotorreó la cabeza. Y ahí fue cuando dijimos, ahora mismo necesitamos una banda sonora. Y desde ese momento hasta que conseguimos avanzar con el cómic, la banda sonora acompañó todo el proceso. O formó parte del proceso.
I mean, it wasn't planned, but once we had it, it all started because we did this, from the trifold cover that I did. I did that in different layers, so we can do an animation, like a parallax to zoom in.
Yeah.
And we wanted to put a music to that, like a teaser, for promotion. And I've said on another sites to this, that what we wanted to do is, like, in the mangas that you have the first 3 pages or so that are colored, and then you can, keep imagining the atmosphere of the whole book, but it's in black and white from there on. Well, we thought we do something like that with the music, like create what's the atmosphere, the feeling and the emotion sound of. So we asked a friend of Roy to do a guitar composition for that teaser, and once he did that, we just said we have to do now a whole soundtrack to this, because what we said, what I said before about creating an emotion, you can create an emotion with music that enhances the scene in a way that you can't bring that emotion without that sound. So it instantly became like a necessity for Willie to bring that level of emotion to a scene.
Yeah. So how, again, I mean, I think to get back to what the question was, how early in the process did you did you decide that you were going to do that?
It was, I think we had written issue 1 at that time. I'm not sure if I had started to I mean, I knew I had the cover done, but I'm not sure if I was already into, now I'm remembering. I think we had issue 1 done, because we gave the musicians the first page and asked them to do that something for that page, I think. So we had a lot of chats with them, with El Hombre Viento and Mario Gonzo, Lorente, about exactly what we wanted for the book. It had to, because we told them, even if it looks like a child book, this is, just imagine we're doing Unforgiven. You have to do a soundtrack that it's not that doesn't follow the image in the way of the colorful and cartoony shapes that we had in the book. So yeah, at that time we had the first issue, I think, finished.
Okay, very good. It's pretty early in the process. One more question, Zoe? Yeah. Robert Moreno, Humbo. Please tell me you have big plans for Humbo. Such a cool and interesting character.
You have no idea. I mean, I don't think if we did right now a contest and give $1 million, we will not, because we don't have that. To whoever guesses what's going to happen to Humbo and what has happened to Humbo in the 3 years, I think nobody will be able to win that contest. We have something very special for Humbo.
Cool. That sounds great. Okay, so let's go back to kind of the pitch and the early part of it. Obviously, you didn't try to pitch them 6 books or 10 books, or you were just pitching them the initial volume 1, yeah? Or were you giving them the bigger world?
¿Respondo?
Sí.
Okay. One thing that we knew from the start, we don't have a background in writing, and I mean, there's nothing out there to prove that we can write. So we sat down and we said, we have to show them that we can write. I mean, at least we have to show them the whole plot, every issue, what's going to happen in every issue, the first 5 issues, and the end, so they can see what's the real twist of this. So we prepared that pitch with the 5 issues, with all the character designs, and that pitch ended saying, okay, and that pitch was called We Die at that time. So when we reached the final twist, and they said, okay, from here on it's We Live, and what you just read is prologue to the project we're pitching. And so they love that, and they also wanted to know, okay, we need to know what's We Live and what's going to happen from here on. So then we wrote a synopsis of volume 2. No, the synopsis we sent, I think it's volume 2 and volume 3. Yeah, about the art. And that's how it happened. That's the pitch. But we first thought we put the whole volume 1 very much clear for them to see what's going to happen in every issue and at the end.
Oh, very good. Where am I going to go with that? So then the next thing is they've accepted the book, they've accepted the pitch. You've got to start producing the book. So what's your guys' internal process in terms of are you writing a formal script? Are you just sitting around and talking it out? Kind of doing it, Marvel style like that, where you guys are sort of deciding what's happening and then you go and draw it, or is there like a full script, page by page? What's your process, in other words?
Digo una parte yo y después continúas vos, pero creo que la parte más importante de nuestro proceso es todo lo que hablamos antes de sentarnos a escribir. Y cómo necesitamos que todo esté lo suficientemente atado para sentarnos a escribir. A partir de ahí, creo que sí que le puedo explicar, pues eso, ¿no? Cómo escribimos cada guión y cómo después vos agarras el guión y lo llevas al boceto.
Yeah. And the most important part of our process is all the talking we do before we sit down and write.
Sure.
We speak a lot on the phone or in person, and once we know everything's tight and and the twists, the work, and the whole arc, emotional arc works, and then we sit down and write a full script. I mean, with everything, panel 1, panel 2, what's happening in each panel. I tell Roy that it's best that we skip if it's a large shot or a close up. Just leave that to me because I need to be able to play with that. But we do lay out every panel. If this page is going to have 5 panels, maybe then it's 4. Or I decide it's going to be 6 when I draw the page. But we do a very full script, very detailed, and when we sit down and script the dialogues, everything. It's not a Marvel way.
And who how do you guys? How do 2 people write something? This is not a thing I've talked to people before about this, and I still never really understand how 2 people actually, like, does one of you start writing and then the other one goes in and edits, or so who does the first draft in that case, Roy? Since I saw you nod to that.
Con 2 ordenadores y un documento online. Creo que es ese, y luego es verdad que una vez conseguimos dejarlo todo escrito en un primer borrador, casi terminado, sí que después hay repaso o hay partes en las que hay que dedicarle un tiempo especial, que se lo puede dedicar vos o se lo dedico yo.
Yeah, we write on a Google Doc, so we can see at the same time whatever goes on the page. And usually it's Roy who's writing and typing. He types faster than me. So we really just speak. Okay, panel 1. How do we start? And once we say, okay, this happens, and we write it, and we keep on going, even if in that moment we're not sure of something or we don't come up with a good dialogue, with a good rhythm or flow. We just we first lay out every page what's going to happen. The 20 pages, we're going to dedicate this 3 pages to this scene, 2 pages to that, 4 to that. And once we finish writing the whole 20 pages, that's when we maybe Roy or I, and when we're alone, if we we get inspired with something, we go and touch it and call the other one. Okay, just read what I put. Let's see if you like it. And we have no ego involved really, and because we know each other, and we can do. And Roy has a very good analogy about this. He says that what we do is open windows. Like I open a window, and that window we speak about that window and say, do we want to go through that window? What's going to happen if we go through that window? We look further on. That window is going to take us to what? So we mentally walk that path and then decide if we open that window. If not, we close it and we look for another window. If we go through that window, then we start throwing several windows. There are new windows. Which one do we pick? It's all about seeing what works and just talking about it.
Yeah. No, I like that. Because most of your previous experience is illustrating other people's scripts, does that change the way you write a script for yourself? Does that Does that make sense as a question? I don't know if that actually makes sense as a question.
Yeah, totally. Because yes, I mean that's something that as an artist and a storyteller, something that I feel is very important. It's only right scenes that are visually appealing or spectacular or break a rhythm or have something special. If it's a common scene, we won't write it because I'm only thinking in the visual rhythm.
Right.
And if that scene, it brings an emotion, just visually. I don't mean the words. If that scene has something special that I know that I'm going to be able to, give life to, then we go that path and we write something in there about that scene. If not, I just discard it as an artist. And I talk to Roy. No, that doesn't bring anything exciting. So, for example, I mean, it's difficult in We Live because that's just the whole visual world is appealing, but like it's going to be very rare that you see a conversation scene in a cafeteria or a classroom or just anything that's mundane, because I know I will need something very, very special to bring life or something exciting to that, not just the dialogue. I needed to have something more. So that's something that I feel like I could, bring that kind of visual rhythm to the story before it. I think this is very important. That's why I like your question. Before it's written.
Yeah.
First, it's has to work visually.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it's one of the big challenges for in mainstream comics, particularly, where they're done in kind of a production line, as it were. It seems to me that a lot of time that the artist doesn't have a lot of time with the script before they have to start doing their job, right? Like, because you have a deadline and the book must get published. You can't sit there and mess with it,
No.
And if a writer is not necessarily thinking visually, there can be static scenes of just talking heads for 3 or 4 pages, which is very difficult for some artists to draw and to make, visually interesting.
Yes, and at the same time, because of what you said, I don't feel I can go to the writer and say, let's discard this scene. Let's write. Why don't you write something different? And because I don't have that, I don't feel like I could say that, because for me, first comes, as a professional, I have respect to the script that's been given and to the deadline that I have to do it. And also maybe because I'm not involved in the writing, I would mess up something. So it's something that I wouldn't like to do that. It's different in this case because I know where we're going and I know what's the purpose of this scene and of this dialogue, everything.
Yeah.
So I can have that, that power.
Sure. Let's talk maybe a minute about sort of the editorial process. I'm assuming that after you've written your script, before you start drawing, you've handed it off to your editor at Aftershock, and they're looking over it and they're trying to make the story better, because that's what an editor does. Because English is not your first language, is there more changes, do you think, that are getting made, or about the same? Does I don't know if that question makes sense.
You mean in the script? How?
Yeah, the actual physical script. Yeah.
The truth is that, I mean, they were Mike March and Christina Harrington. They were very, very spot on. They were very particular, like everything they told us that we should change or add. It was never changing it were very easy changes to do because they made a lot of sense, and at the same time they didn't disrupt at all the script. It's like in issue one, maybe I remember they told us, when we dedicate 2 pages to present first we were going to start, for example, we're going to start the characters of the boss, because of we only had 22 pages to tell the story, so it was really we had a lot to tell, and we decided to start with them on the bus. And I remember them telling us, why don't we try to present them on an earlier scene? And so we did it, and I think it was a perfect edit. And we had to add 2 pages too. So I think it was the first issue has 24 pages.
Yeah.
But it was really smart editing what we had from them, and everything that they said made the product better, and respected like 90% of what we had written.
Yeah.
It was perfect for us.
Very
And
good.
also we had the privilege of having them. I mean, my written English, I think it's better than my conversation English. But
Conversation English is great.
Yeah. But
Fine.
they had our back covered because some things they made it they corrected it to make it better on English language in American. So I think that's also really important, so the reader doesn't see something really strange in the language barrier.
Yeah.
So they did that job too, of correcting specific dialogue lines that would be better because they knew the language.
Yeah. And when you receive that kind of an edit, I mean, so there's the first kind of edits you were talking about in terms of sort of story structure, story, like those are universal. You can understand that. When they're making dialogue edits, though, are you comfortable enough with your English reading that you understand why those make it better, or are you more you guys know better, we're just going to let you do it? If you understand the question.
Yes. Usually it's something that that was unknown to me, and once I read it, I said, okay, that's how you say that.
Yeah.
For example, maybe some words I don't remember. Now I don't remember the exact words, but for example, when the train, the humble scene at the end, they have to unlink the wagons.
Yeah.
I use a different expression than the ones that it's put in the book, and then when I read the edit, I realized how I should have said that word. That's something that I mean, I'm able to recognize when I read it that that's how I should have said it.
Yeah. Well, because it's a unique challenge writing in a non-native tongue. It's impressive. It's impressive that you guys do it at all. I have to say, honestly. Zoe says we have another question. Give me that other question, Pudrigo. The very obvious question. Thank you, Pudrigo. Any plans for a Spanish language edition?
Mm-hmm. I mean, we know something, but we can't say. But yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Sounds good.
Because it hasn't been officially.
Yeah. No, I understand. It would be a thing you would like to have done. So very good. I like that
very much.
So let's talk about you've got the script. The script is approved. Now you got to start drawing. The fun part, the hard part, the fun part. Which is it? The both?
To me, the fun part. It's weird because I like so much. Even if I dedicated 20 years of my life to just drawing, I think I love more writing than drawing.
Huh.
But to me, this is the first time I experienced the freedom of just drawing whatever I think works for the book, and it has been really a great pleasure. Yes, because I think the most fun part for me is in the breakdowns stage.
Yeah.
Where I bring what we wrote and see how it works, and see the rhythm and the flow of everything. And once I see the rhythm working in the breakdown and the layout, from there it's just like that's work.
Yeah.
Now I have to fill in everything that I had in my mind and I put in the layouts. Now I have to do it.
Right.
But that's the most for me. It's the less fun part, but it's also fun. But I'm also I'm thinking how my mind works while I'm drawing. And the fun part of drawing the scene is that I know that Eva is going to take it. Eva de la Cruz is the colorist.
Yeah.
I mean, we've known each other since university, so it's like that's 30 years of knowing of each other. So I know what she's going to do with that. So I don't feel the real joy of drawing until I see how it ended up with the color and the
That's interesting.
lighting. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I feel that I have to take the script, then do the breakdowns, and then take it to the colors to be able to enjoy it. I don't quite enjoy that part until I see it colored or finished, because my drawings also rely a lot of uh, the lines. I don't work with too much rendering,
Right.
so it needs the color.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Do you give her notes on what you want on the color, or do you just trust her instincts to do it?
I mean, if she was here, he said I drive her crazy, but that was before. That was before. I mean, maybe that was 15 years of work where I was a pain in the ass, but now
Yeah.
not so much, because like now we're connected, like
Yeah.
exactly what she knows. And I mean, it's not like I tell her just put this color there. No, I mean, she's a great talented artist. It's just that there are some things that are very important for me in the storytelling stage, that they have to be there. So but I mean, we're very connected right now. It's just a joy to work together. I mean, it's always been a joy, but now it's more, because she knows exactly with 2 words what I expect that scene to feel like.
No, that's great. I love that. I love the way that sounds. Zoe is saying there's another question, so we'll ask the other question. Richard Montalvo, do you have any plans to be at San Diego Comic-Con or any upcoming conventions in the U.S.? Hope to meet you guys and get some of his books signed. Well, that's good. If you know, Richard, if you join the club, you get a book plate that's signed by the guys with the book. That's all right. Anyway, sorry. Answer the question though. Are you guys gonna make any American appearances soon?
We don't know right now. I mean, with the pandemic, it's something that you can't decide what's going to happen like months from now. We would like to next year be at San Diego or maybe New York.
Yeah.
But it's too early right now with the pandemic to say something. Really, I wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, when you do come to the States, if you want to kind of do like San Diego and then come up the coast to San Francisco, I'd love to have you guys come up and do a signing or something here.
We love that.
I think that would be really great, actually.
Yes.
So we'll put a pin in that and circle back.
Okay.
So breakdowns. How do you break down? Do you do very detailed breakdowns, or are you doing just sort of loose gestural ones, if you know what I mean?
I think it depends on. Once I see I captured, the shapes and if they work, I usually put colors to each character to be able to recognize it and to read it very easily throughout the page, how it blocks the page, the shapes and the size of each characters in the panels in the page. And sometimes I pay a lot of attention. I try to, the pose and the gesture. That's where I try to leave it very close to what it's going to look like in the pencil and ink stage.
Yeah.
Because I have to see that pose works. And it's not like I do just thumbnails. That's what they're sketched, but they're not detailed. But at the same time, you can see perfectly how it's going to work with the faces and the bodies.
How big are your breakdowns? Are you doing literal thumbnails, or are you doing?
No, I work in the same size as.
Same size. Oh, same size. Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
I work digitally, but it's the same. It's the same file that I then work over.
Okay. So essentially it's a blue line at first, and then you're just building on top of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I say maybe the penciling and inking stage is more what feels like work to me, because I put all the the energy on the breakdowns and then the faces and the bodies and the poses, everything. So then it feels almost like feeling everything.
That makes sense. And have you always worked digitally, or did you do pen and paper at some point?
I started with pen and paper, and then I moved as soon as I saw there was a Cintiq from Wacom. I bought it, and I think the last comic that I did with pencils was Stripes.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So a really long time ago.
Yeah, because my problem basically is the inking. Like, I don't have an inker, and at the same time, I think inking, on paper, it's something that you have to dedicate years to that craft to do it right. So I felt that I was never going to reach that level, because I'm also interested, in drawing and writing, and I felt that the best thing for me was to, jump, just not try to be good at that craft, because I don't think I would never reach a level, with a crow quill, and that's why I prefer digital right now. Because I only care what I said about that I don't enjoy it until I see the colored page. It's because I only care for the finished product. It's not. I don't consider myself like an artist that really enjoys the craft of drawing. I know that doesn't sound too good, but to me it's work. But I need to see the finished product. That's all I care about. So I don't care if I do it digitally or with pencil. I just want to reach what it's in my mind visually and the best way possible.
Yeah. No, that makes a tremendous amount of sense. And everybody works differently, and that's one of the things I love about comics is that this is probably something like my 150th or 200th interview or something like that. And I don't know that really any two artists have ever given me the same answer to that question, and I love it. It's actually, I think it's one of the fundamental strengths of comics, that there's no right way to make comics, whereas, with film and with prose, there are paths that people take, and I just, there's a lot more freedom in comics that I see.
Also, I think the same, that I try to not say any rules about how to do comics, because there shouldn't be. There's people that say this it should be more cinematic, and people that say it's more about composing the page as like an art piece,
Sure.
And I think it depends on the artist, whatever he wants to do. That's the infinity of comics. I think that you can do anything.
Exactly. Exactly, and its own language too, and that
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. Working on We Live versus working on comics at DC, right? Comics at DC have ads in them, but this doesn't have ads, so you actually have a lot more control over your page turns and things like that you didn't have necessarily working at DC, right? Because you don't know where they're going to put the ads. They don't consult the artists, as far as I'm aware, about that stuff. Has that changed your storytelling at all? Having that level of control?
I never had any control at DC because I never wrote for them. So right. It was never me deciding any page turn. I mean, I had the script that decided it for me. Maybe in Coffin Hill, I had more freedom of maybe changing the script to make a splash page here or a double splash page, but I never had that much of any control over that, really, and because I always work with a very tight script, so this is new to me, to have this control.
Yeah, very good. And what else? The lettering. How are you working with Dave closely in terms of balloon placement or like effects and things like that, or is some of this in the art itself?
No, I mean, I'm the one. I've always worked, leaving the whole thinking of the balloon placements and sound effects to the letterer.
Yeah.
I don't. It's the same thing with thinking. It's like I don't feel I will be able to do any better than a professional letterer. So I'm more focused on seeing that everything works visually, and then I know he's going to. I mean, Dave Sharp is a great letterer, so I know he's going to know what to do with that and do it better. So I've never put any balloon placements in the breakdowns at all.
Yeah, very good. Cool. Well, that is I think has given us a pretty full picture of how you work and how the book is made. And we love it. I mean, I think I speak for everybody watching this broadcast that we're all really excited that there's going to be a lot more of this. And because I just love this world, and I love the imagination here, and I love the heart here, and it's really good. So thank you for that. Zoe, is there any other final questions we're all good? Cool. Okay, so then, so one of my two questions would be, what else do you want to plug? What else do you have coming up? So obviously more We Live is going to be the big part of that answer. Is there anything else that you would like to plug, either of you, other than We Live?
We plan to do We Live for as long as possible.
Nice.
So We Live.
Nice. I love that. I really do. And then the final question is, this series is watched by a lot of people who want to make their own comics. And so I always like to ask guests, what piece of advice would you give to someone who wants to create comics? And it doesn't have to be, it can be craft, it can be philosophical, it can be emotional, it can be, a hygiene related question. I don't know. What would you like to tell someone who wants to make art? What advice would you give them? Roy, maybe you want to go first, maybe?
Kim, corregime, la pregunta es, ¿qué le podemos decir a alguien que esté en el momento en el que quiera sacar su propio cómic, no?
Sí, ¿qué consejo le daríamos a alguien que quiera crear un cómic, ya sea un cómic filosófico, o sea, de cualquier tipo de cómic? ¿Qué consejo le darías a alguien que quiere hacer un cómic?
Uno es que se divierta, o sea, no divertirse de pasárselo bien, sino que sienta que lo que está haciendo es algo que es necesario que el mundo lo conozca. Y dos, que no pare de que busque todo eso en lo que cierre perfectamente lo que está contando y que porque cada vez que cierre una cosa y lo atrape, lo que se siente es algo que es un poco inexplicable, ¿no? Y qué es lo que te dice que estás en el camino correcto. Sé que es un poco poético lo que acabo de decir, pero no sé si me entendiste para traducirlo.
Lo último, no tanto lo de cerrar algo como,
O sea, como
acabar la obra.
que a medida... Sí, que la obra en conjunto está compuesta por muchos momentos que son los que atan todo, como puntos de unión de todo. Y que cada uno de esos puntos tiene que haberte hecho sentir que era perfecto el momento, para que la obra completa sea perfecta.
First, he says, point one is to have fun, but not just for yourself. Just just do something fun. It's have fun at the same time, feeling that what you're doing is something necessary for the world to read or do or experience. Sorry. And the second, it would be to try to to feel the excitement. Try to close everything that you're doing as a whole. Like every scene in the comic and the story you're telling. That try to do it so it brings you to a closure that makes it feel for yourselves and like something strong, like you did it, like you succeeded on it in doing that. Like try to feel the excitement of that big closure. I'm not just saying the ending. I'm Roy, not me.
Yeah.
He's saying that that every piece that you put is well tied together and makes you feel something strong, like they're all connected.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. That's very good. And you, Inaki, what do you answer the same thing?
Yeah, that's something that I would say try, because it's very difficult to be able, when you're an artist or a writer that comes to a medium, and you usually look at the artists or writers or of the works that make you feel great, and you see the success in them, and usually try to like follow their steps.
Yeah.
And even though it's a pitfall that we all fall into, my advice is to try to get out from that pitfall.
Sure.
And try to understand your own path. Like it's just in every work that you do, in every artwork, the only thing that should be important is that you're sincere to yourself of what you are creating. That you can only create it by yourself. I mean, not you can feel a lot of influences. That's great, because that's how it works. Like, because I always say that creating is like if you had a toy and you had fun with that toy, you will want to create that same toy, but done by you, to replicate the fun that you had, with playing with the other toy. So influences are very important, but at the same time, you have to distill it until it's only you, and it's different from everything else, because nobody else can do it, because it's you.
Yeah.
So I think that's the goal of every creator, to know what he can do by himself or herself, and do it. And even if it's you're experimenting, and it doesn't have to be perfect from the start, but you have to travel that path. It's like I always say that there's a song by Bob Dylan that says, now I don't remember the phrase exactly. Like, I won't start to sing until I know my song perfectly. And that's something that it's an inner trip, an inner journey that you have to take to then go and sing.
Yeah.
First, you have to be sure that what you're singing is sincere and true.
Yeah, I like that answer. I like that answer a lot. That's really a beautiful answer. You guys clearly think a lot about art, and it shows, and it's beautiful. And I just really want to thank you guys for this book, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today, and get this happening. I've had a great time, and I hope you have too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I'm really thankful to you for this chat, and for supporting the book, of course.
Yeah, but it all starts with you. So I'm just
I don't know if it starts with us. I mean, I think it's both ways, because if you're not on the other side, there's no book.
Sure.
So it's both.
Yeah, it is a chicken or an egg thing, but still, the chicken had to lay the egg. Sorry. Give me a one shot, Zoe, please. In 10 days, on the 23rd, Wednesday the 23rd, we are really lucky to have Jeff Smith here. We're going to talk to Jeff Smith on the occasion of the 30th anniversary of Bone. And this is going to be a really good conversation with Jeff Smith. That's for the Kids Club, that's for the Classic Club. But yes, everybody can come and join that. 10 days on the 23rd. 4 days after that, 2 weeks from today, on Sunday the 27th, we're talking to Robin Robinson about No One Returns from the Enchanted Forest. This is the Kids Club book. A lot of fun. This is a good book. And then next month's Adult Club, we're really lucky. We are really lucky on Wednesday, July 21st, to have Alison Bechdel here to talk to us about the secret to superhuman strength. And I don't think it involves Vita Rays. Nobody gets that joke. Yeah. I wanted to laugh from my whatever. All right. Yeah. So this has been the show. The book was, I'll hold it up again. Not that it's in my background, but We Live. If you're at home and you are like, I want to read a good science fiction book that has heart and emotion and is full of big, bold ideas, this is a book for you. And we've been talking with two great guys who really are craft. Put them back on the shot. There we are. Thank you guys both. Thanks everybody at home. Thank you, Jordan, who's watching. Thank you, Kat and Zoe, who are running the store. Thank you, audience. Thank you, members. Like and subscribe, yada, yada, yada. We'll talk to you next month.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Graphic Novel of the Month Club. If you enjoyed what you were watching, please subscribe and hit that bell up in the top corner. If you enjoyed the books that we're talking about and the creators that we're talking to, every month we pick a brand new book. The staff votes on it. It's a program that helps keep our store alive, and we'd love to have you as a member. You'll get a new book every month. Just follow that URL at the bottom of the screen.